have this recorded. So Brian Stevenson, an attorney and also the executive director of the Racial Justice Initiative, stated in a TED Talk that our identities as a people is at risk when we don't care about difficult things like poverty, inequality, and injustice in this country. The Office of Diversity, Equity, and Belonging is honoring our commitment to serve as a resource and to create a space for belonging. As we live, work, learn, and create during this time, we are all facing some challenges related to our own psychological safety and our sense of belonging. What do we mean by psychological safety? Well, it's a sense within an individual that they can show and employ their true selves at work without fear of negative consequences to their own self-image, their status, or their career. It's when you're not afraid to be yourself at work, when you feel that you're free to express your opinions at work, and when you do not have a sense of any kind of threatening environment at work. The centralized mission of Ivy Tech is to serve the people of our state through accessible and affordable world-class education and adaptive learning. We are a people-serving organization, and we cannot fully serve people if we, in and of ourselves, are discouraged. So I hope the message today helps to support our colleagues to feel welcomed, valued, respected, and acknowledged. Our speaker today is Anthony Murdoch, or he goes by just Murdoch. Murdoch is a purpose-driven, action-oriented servant leader, and proud product of the East Side of Indianapolis, Indiana. I am too. He's a rising third-year law student at the IU McKinney School of Law and works in the law school's Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Murdoch is also the owner of Murdoch LLC, a company that's empowering communities to leverage their influence to fuel systematic change. Ultimately, Murdoch is in the business of becoming the greatest powerpreneur Indianapolis has ever seen. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Murdoch as he was a student in my law school class this past semester. His wisdom, his passion, and his experience speaks nothing but hope, a hope for a better tomorrow. So as we all join in today on our day of solidarity, I'd like to welcome Murdoch to the stage to give us a message. So let me see let me find him and spotlight him. There we go.
And can you hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. I'd like to begin my remarks by thanking who y'all know as Vice President Posey or Attorney Posey, but who I know as Professor Posey, for the opportunity to share this message with each of you this morning. When she contacted me about the opportunity, I instantly said yes for two reasons. First and foremost, I'm appreciative and supportive of the work she is pioneering at this institution. As a Black woman entering this predominantly white space of higher education, and to enter into this space with the responsibility of creating from scratch in a practice area that many professionals would prefer to just scratch from the list, she has a courage and bravery that deserve nothing less than unapologetic congratulations. The second reason for which I said yes without hesitation to this invitation was because I understood the magnitude of this moment. And this moment not being this Zoom call, but rather this moment being the socio-political predicament in which we sit as a people who occupy a global community that has been occupied by a global pandemic. Social media has been buzzing about how history will record the woeful and worrisome times we are weathering. And I wanted to be sure I was not silent as the story was written. I refuse to say silent because the souls of fallen soldiers who have been forced to fight the unfair fight of being Black in America are screeching. And if I were to be silent in response to their screeches, I would be considered complicit in explicitly denying the complexity of our predicament as a people. Yesterday, Don Lemon's headlines on CNN went viral. 2 deadly viruses are killing Americans, COVID-19 and racism in 2020. His headline was provocative, profound, and packed with an undeniable truth. While I wasn't able to hear his remarks that contextualized his headline, because I'm cooped up in my home without cable television, I knew I was more than capable of offering my own commentary on this incredible moment in this chapter of the page turner that is the story of what many see as the divided states of America. Professor Posey asked me to provide a message of hope for you all this morning, and that is what I will provide. But the hope I offer in today's Moments with Murdoch, if you will, is a message that is filled with hope for people of a particular hue, which may or may not be the same hue as you. Because offering a message of great hope to those who are white in moments like these is not necessarily right, and too remnant of the fight that Jack Johnson fought over a century ago. Instead, my message is for those students, faculty, staff, and community members of the same hue as me and Professor Posey, a hue that is required to climb the hills of hate and dive deep into the valleys of invalidation that make our experience seem like hell on earth. In many ways, it was inspired by Don Lemon's headline. However, instead of talking about the two viruses that are killing Americans, I want to talk specifically about the two viruses that are quite literally crucifying African Americans, a people whose America is not a dream, but in many ways a nightmare. My message is about healing through a crucifixion. And I name it a crucifixion because a crucifixion is political. And while killing doesn't have to be, the bodies of Black and brown babies have been politicized, yanked from their mother's wombs. Today, I'd like to title this moment, Healing While in Hell. Healing while in hell requires three things: honesty, help, and a hell of a lot of self-love. First, I'd like to focus our attention on honesty. Calling it like it ain't doesn't change what it is. If it's raining outside, describing the weather as sunny and warm doesn't change the fact that it's raining. If your car is running on E, describing your tank as fully equipped to finish the ride doesn't change the fact that you need some gas. And if the world is suffering, suffocating from a pandemic, describing states as being ready to open doesn't change the fact that the world is in a pandemic. Lying about the weather, whether you have enough gas, or the ability for people to weather a pandemic does not change the challenges that created opportunity for those lies. That is, leave folks uneducated, unprepared, and unprotected. Instead, it's acknowledging the reality of the situation in those moments that allow for true progress to be made. If we're to heal, even while being in hell, we must first prioritize honesty, calling it like it is, and not what it ain't or what we wish it was. Now, I'll be the first to admit, I've fallen short of this first step time and time again, and I'd argue for good reason. It's sickening to acknowledge that racism and white supremacy is as far from being dismantled as Drake is far from being perfect, just like everyone he knows. That was a hip hop reference I tried to throw in there, lighten the mood as we talk at 10 o'clock this morning. Let me know in the chat if you know what I was talking about. And sometimes it literally makes me hurt to acknowledge the hurt that the world gives little infants. Another hip hop analogy I wanted to use. But we must ask ourselves, why is it so difficult to be really honest about the hell we experience on earth? I suggest it's difficult because in many ways, it will unearth that our real issue is not being honest. It's the issue of the hopelessness that we oftentimes feel when we acknowledge what we know to be true. And while the pains of white supremacy and the pains of anti-Blackness and the lives of Black babies are two of the greatest pains a person can experience, writing a prescription for that pain comes first with acknowledging the pain that exists and admitting the pain is real so that it can be treated appropriately. The second step to healing while in hell is help. And that's exactly what we need once we've been honest about the trauma that's traveled with us since our childhood. To be honest, lying to yourself about what you can handle is actually a product of our socialization and trauma as Black folks in this country. Whether it's the pharmaceutical industrial complex, race-based medicinal practices, of post-traumatic slave syndrome, Black folks have been told time and time again that they ought to operate like machines. We are told to grind now and sleep later. We are told that our pain tolerance is higher than the average Joe because the blood of slaves run through our veins. We are told that we must be 10 times better than Karen because otherwise the world won't care about us. And while success and achievement gaps are real, and I do believe the spirit of both Dr. King and Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman and Fannie Lou Hamer run through the blood in my veins, and Black folks are judged on a scale that was imbalanced intentionally, it's important to acknowledge that the burden of rectifying or rehabilitating that imbalance is not for us to bear alone. Racism and white supremacy were not born from an individual. Those are systems built on systems that hold each other accountable to their mission and vision like no other organization. This being said, in order to dismantle these systems, systems are also required. Systems of support, systems of community, systems that don't do justice for the criminals in gray suits and crispy white shirts at the expense of Black and brown bodies in orange jumpsuits. Once we are honest about the hell we experience on earth, by calling racism and white supremacy when we see and experience it, regardless of how uncomfortable it might make the person who committed that macroaggression against you. Once we are honest about the hell we experience on earth, by acknowledging the role that police, prosecutors, and public officials all play in the persecution and execution of Black and brown bodies, we can strategize and coalition build within our communities, like this community, to create systems and ecosystems that combat systems of economy who seek to steal, kill, and destroy the power in your story. Help is not as distant as the heaven is from hell on earth. It is so much closer than you think. You experience that help every day in small instances. The music you listen to, the clothes you wear, the food you eat, the ideas you have, the people you love and that love you. Our culture of fortitude and gratitude and aptitude is all the help we need to heal from this hell on earth. And the best part about our culture is that no matter how suppressed the system makes you feel, it cannot suppress that thing that makes your plural pattern tell stories that will inform generations of your beauty and power. No matter how depressed the system makes you feel, it cannot stop the drip from the natural limp with which you walk with your chin held high because you are the juice and the sauce and the picture, dang nabbit. No matter how supremacy-centric the system is, it does not have to reign supreme. And it does not have to reign supreme for my third reason of how we heal while in hell. Because it requires a hell of a lot of self-love to heal while in hell. And every time you commit to loving yourself, you are committing to a revolutionary action against the system. Loving yourself is a revolutionary action, and you are worth the revolution. Type that in the chat. Loving yourself is a revolutionary action, you are worth the revolution. Loving yourself is a revolutionary action, you are worth the revolution. Deciding to love yourself in a society that treats you as though you are less than human is a revolutionary action. It is revolutionary action because it's my favorite kind of PPP, a practical, a political, and a procedural proclamation. It is systematically placing into question the power and potency of the system's potential to make you think you're something that you're not. You are beautifully and wonderfully made in the image of something greater that is more than any of us could have ever imagined. You have power. You have agency. Your beautiful, bold, Black life matters. And for it to matter, it does not require for you to compromise who you are for the sake of somebody's comfortability. As a matter of fact, it requires the opposite. It requires you to be unapologetically who you are, because that's exactly what the world needs. Beautiful, bold, and Black. Your muse is the culmination of a myriad of mess-ups turned upside down into a masterpiece of motivation. Your inspiration is the indignant spirit of an imbecile, ignited and burned alive. And after a process of heating and cooling, an incredible image within you has been inscribed. Your blood runs deep with both stress and success, bruises and breakthroughs, crashes of carelessness, and chambers of courage. Your muse sings a song to your soul that is essential and central to your sense of self, like the ABCs to an English major. And yes, that is major. Your story is not my story, and my story is not yours. We're each on individual journeys and processes towards wherever we are seeking to accomplish. And for us, that is progress. Your process towards progress doesn't mimic the rise to fame of someone who is acclaimed. Your process towards progress wasn't inspired by someone to whom you aspire. Your process towards progress is specific to your slips and trips, your failures flipped, and your journey to your trip. Your process towards progress is you, beautiful, bold, and Black. Never forget, Murdoch is about we and not me, and there's not a single moment I don't spend now thinking about us. And this was another random irrelevant moment with Murdoch. Thank y'all so much for this opportunity. I pray my words resonated with you. And Professor Posey, shout out to you, my sister. Thank you very much.
Wow. Let's just drop the mic right there. Murdoch, thank you so much. That was so beautiful, so inspiring, so powerful.